both these teams, but Anarchy, they stick to their guns. They've been consistent. If KT falter again, they could realistically win this series.
Absolutely. Varus ban going to be first for KT. Varus, LeBlanc, and Thresh, their bans on the blue side from last game. Rise taken out for Anarchy. Will we just see the same bans over again? Cassiopeia and Annie were banned by Anarchy.
The Annie play from Fixer was impressive, just getting some of those engage options. The less engaged they have, the better, apparently, because when it was just Hecarim, they had no idea of how to play around what seemed to be pretty straightforward team fights. Kalista actually banned this time by Anarchy, not trusting that KT won't snap it up with first pick.
Yeah, indeed. So a little bit of a change here. That means Cassiopeia or Annie will be available for KT Rolster. Will the Snowflower be free for the Thresh be free for Snowflower as well? Getting into that point of the night where you're casting 6 games in a row and you start to get a little bit tongue-tied.
Word salad sounding a bit tasty, Monte Cristo. We haven't had much dinner either, so just hoping we can see a triumphant performance by one of these teams. Ari's the last ban. That's a curious one to me. Mickey played it fine. He won the MVP, but that game was not won off the back of Ari.
Well, also, I think it really, after you ban both Varus and Ari, telegraphs that you want to pick the victor here.
Yep.
And Anarchy can also pick the victor. So, are you going to first pick the victor?
That sounds like a gambit. So, when you have last pick, especially, you can engineer a comp for a lot of different champions. It seems like your instincts are correct. Just going with first pick Victor, I feel there's a lot of counterplay to this pick in a lot of ways, but we're just cycling through some of the strong champions. Gragas is also another one that's been heavily contested. Where do KT want to go with this comp? That's the question that we just honestly don't know the answer to.
Well, they obviously feel Mickey's the threat. 3 mid lane bans right there, and I think you just take the Alistar here. But again, why ban the Ahri? Because now if you ban the Ahri, Mickey may just take Victor. They could take Gragas Victor right now.
And it's not like he hasn't shown the Victor already. He clearly can play that champion. The Gragas will be absolutely no surprise, been by far Lyra's strongest champion. Has the pick of the jungle, though. No junglers banned. In fact, so far we've had 4 mid lane bans, an AD carry, and a top laner.
I think you just go Gragas Victor here and say, if you're Anarchy, you get a powerful mid laner. A lot of the counter picks to Victor have already been banned out, so in a way, KT doing some of that work for you.
Considering something different, though, it has to be Sivir duty this time for Ari. You cannot let him get back onto the Corki. That was not a good performance from him, and Vayne is not really a blocker pick, but certainly an opponent that can take over lane. I agree with you. Maybe the Thresh, maybe the Victor, whichever one, I think, just taking the first round, but clearly they're heavily considering other options.
No. I think you take the Victor Gragas here, 100%, and that looks like it will be their lock-in.
Just waiting for the time to time down. Yes, it is. So weird to put yourself in this position where you're not willing to pull the trigger on first picking Victor, and then your options to deal against it. Do you just go Kassadin?
That was a very weird ban phase from KT. I think that this was very predictable that Anarchy would opt into this if you did make these assumptions.
It has to be Kassadin.
Okay, well, there's possible that it's going to be an extra level of mind game here. Maybe these bans were to force Anarchy to pick the Victor early so they could counterpick with the Kassadin. That's actually possible.
I was going to say Kassadin Sivir will be the duo, because of course Sivir makes up for Kassadin's lack of wave clear, and Arrow cannot be put back onto the Corki or any other champion. Just stick with the Sivir, does the team thing, I think. Yeah, I don't mean to rag too much, but that was a poor game.
It was. And this could be very much going the way of
instant lock of Vayne from Sungyun. You can take over this lane if they misplay it here, KT, and you get that Blade of the Rune King fast enough, whether it's a lane swap or just 2v2. Thresh Vayne, very confident lock-ins from Anarchy.
Indeed, and this is going the way of the Coup Tigers comp for KT that we saw in that final and decisive third game where they picked the Riven, going for the Sivir and Kassadin combination here, except they went for the Annie. Instead, it's the Alistar, still serving a lot of the same function. This Vayne's going to have to be very careful in the back line, though. I would not want to be playing the Vayne this game, but the Vayne-Gragas combo, very strong in general. Good pick setup. Not so great with the Victor, though.
If you think about it like the last game, where basically they kited back for the Kalista, and Kalista ended up doing free damage. Use that gravity field defensively, use all this CC defensively. Maybe there's a way for Vayne to do damage. I don't really see it. Score is considering this Rengar.
I can't deal with another game of Score's Rengar, Papa Smithy.
You very well may have to. I don't know if that was your heart sinking or just necessarily your arm, but the Rengar's locked in.
Yes, it is. Well, the last time this happened, we did see that there was a pretty big issue with the Rengar pickup right now. It was, in fact, not effective at all in the late game.
So Anarchy left to pick their top laner. As far as we can tell, we're waiting to see what they picked. It's against a Rumble. There could be the potential of a carry choice. Of course, Smeb showed us the power of the Riven top in that particular matchup. Not sure if Ixu, that's a champion that Ixu plays. Could just default back to the Hecarim. Doesn't have the Sivir synergy, but would definitely be a very valid pick. It'd be a bit of backline threat, but I don't really know if they need backline threat when they want to keep their Vayne alive more than necessarily die of a Sivir that isn't really going to be zoned away from our other threats.
They don't need any backline dive right now. KT only has one direction with this comp, which is all in for absolutely everybody in this team composition. There's no other way to deal with it. And now that they have it, the Hecarim, I think, is just not going to be that useful here.
Look, there's always the potential that Hecarim takes over a game, maybe similar to what Someday did last game, but build a bit of damage early and just be a true damage threat or a big split pushing threat. For example, Duke yesterday doing very impressive things on the Hecarim and the split push. It's going to be the teleport ignite, so not going to be going for the Cinder Hulk build. Could maybe just rush the Trinity Force, have the ignite, and just try and dual Rumble out of the lane.
Yeah, he will absolutely be doing that. Now, the big threat here is Mickey. This is a composition that is designed around diving this Victor and Score. Played Rengar before, didn't really do a whole lot, built Warrior Enchantment, and was absolutely useless in the late game. If Nagne hadn't carried them out of that game on IM, it would have been an absolute disaster for KT. So I'm not convinced by the Rengar in the current era. Yes, he's strong in the mid game, but he has such a low... He doesn't do anything at all in the late game. He might as well not even be on your team.
That's harsh words, Monte Cristo, but not too far off base, I think. Definitely has good lockdown CC if he can get the empowered bowler. In the laning phase, maybe his whole job is just hang around mid lane, get this casting going, and let Nagne do all the hard work in the late game.
Well, you have to create a massive snowball. Otherwise, you're just useless compared to a Gragas later on, because a tanky Rengar is not something anyone is afraid of. Oh, boy. Well, I hope it works better than last time. I miss Rengar.
One more game, Monty.
Well, one more game left tonight. Let's see if this Rengar delivers this time for KT, or whether Anarchy can take the 2-1.
So a lot of loyal fans here at this game, Monte Cristo, getting into the wee hours of the night. But the fans, they want to see a winner, and it looked for sure like it'll be a 2-0 for KT. But Anarchy fight back, and it's 1-0.
You know, I'm not sure we're going to see a winner tonight, Papa Smithy. Sometimes you just have to declare both teams as losers. That's our job.
Only one team can pick up the big W, though. That's a retail brand in Australia, so a couple of layers to that joke.
The big W?
It's like Target, but not as good.
Oh. Well,
it's like Kmart, but not as good.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's bad. That's bad.
It's probably on the same level. I'm being too harsh, Big W.
Do you apologize to Big W? Well, there goes our Big W sponsorship for OGN, Papa Smithy. Thanks a lot.
Guys. I messed it up.
Okay, well, looks like we are going to have a lane swap, but both teams heading into the top side right now. 2v2 for the Alistair Sivir versus the Vayne and the Thresh. Meanwhile, weak side jungle starts from both sides, but...
One of them heeding your advice. You can see KT starting the big buff, so theoretically they might be in 3-buff territory, but because there's been this double duo lane, or basically the 2v2 lane, move to the top, probably not going to be so much harassment and maybe be safer jungle clears for both teams.
Well, we'll see. It depends on how fast this Sivir can push things in. Score is going to take the red buff right at level 1. Someday just doing a camp right now, trying to hit level 2 before he TPs into the bottom side.
Absolutely no one there, so watching the minions do battle in the bottom side of the map. The jungle follow continues. It's just picking up experience where you can.
Yep, absolutely. So Ixu going back, getting his green ward, getting some potions as well. Doran's shield start from Sunday, so it looks like we will see a pretty conservative lane right here. All eyes are on Score. What will he do with this Rengar? Can he actually find the angles? Mickey going to have to play very, very patiently, very conservatively, very defensively this game against a Rengar.
Definitely needs some wards to relieve pressure, because at the moment he's pushing the cast in, usually a pretty smart choice, but with the power of Rengar's early game, could be his downfall.
And Snowflower coming in, no hook right there onto the blue buff. Lyra wants to look for the invade right now. Score is not level 3 because he hasn't actually taken out those small camps yet. Lyra's going to grab him for himself. That's a lot of XP actually.
And they moved a lot of the experience onto the small minions, so the full clear of the camp, super important. Rengar's early clear, still really risky, and the payoff, look, maybe it'll be there this game, but there's a reason that this champion's just not seen very much at the competitive level.
It's just such a risk is the problem. It's such a risk to take the Rengar that says that you're going to have to make some big plays early on, or the rest of your team is basically going to have to hard carry you.
Well, so look, we saw the jungle Fizz come through from Tucson, and we kind of questioned that pick. They at least paid it off with an early gank, but then just fell into irrelevance. Very much the same possibility for the Rengar. People were really trying these off-meta picks, and this was without their hands being forced. There are a lot of viable junglers not picked or banned. In fact, I don't believe there was a jungle ban this game.
No, there were no jungle bans, as a matter of fact, at all, because of the emphasis on the mid lane. And we know that Score can play Sejuani really well, for example.
Come on, let's be real. Where is the Evelynn? It was an obvious Evelynn game. It wasn't even a Rek'Sai locked in, so Rek'Sai, Evelynn, both were very viable options.
I just wonder what it is, because in KT's other game, they by all rights should have lost that game, that they came back with the Rengar with their 3 inhibs down, and the Rengar was totally useless. Now we see it here again.
We can only guess the scrim results are very good with it. Maybe they just want to get a huge lead in the early game. What else could it be?
To be fair to Score, he actually did draw a lot of Rengar bans early last season. People were very afraid of him on that champion, and he did deliver. But since the meta's shifted out, and you can't make all of those big impactful plays anymore into the mid game, you just don't have a lot of time. There's a countdown ticking. And to Lyra's credit, slowing that Rengar down is absolutely huge.
Yeah, he's already
absolutely huge.
As you mentioned, contested and stole away the quick level 3, then has now gone and put out 2 green wards and a pink. Doesn't have any semblance of a sightstone, just spending all of his income on denying the Rengar. And as you mentioned, when you're talking about a timer, delaying that time is important. Now Knight's not level 6.
Oh, barely not hitting that.
Mickey was out of mana.
Yeah, he was. That's true. And also, the body slam narrowly missing right there. That may have actually been a change. That actually was one of those things that could have been affected by the nerfs to his body slam on the last patch. It was real close.
Yeah. Gragas lost a bit of weight in the last patch. He just doesn't quite have the same belly radius anymore.
He's been walking around Summoner's Rift so much these days that he probably...
It's true, he's gotten quite the workout in the last few patches.
Yeah, he definitely has. I mean, been drinking a lot, but piling on the calories in that way, I suppose, but still perhaps offsetting it with enough running around a valley that I guess is on top of a mountain, if I'm to believe. Like, what's going on?
Are we going to have another lore discussion, Monte Cristo?
Hey, I just look out at the outside of Summoner's Rift, and it seems to be like some sort of crater on top of a mountain.
Have you noticed they've done some more animations? Actually quite a lot going on out there.
Yeah, it is really pretty, but also...
I don't know how I find time. I should probably be killing creeps when I'm checking out the sick...
the scenic views.
The scenic views. Real estate in Summoner's Rift, probably quite expensive.
Is that what you do in solo queue too? You're just laning right there. You're like, hey, you just type in all chat. Did you see the dragon fly around outside, and then while they're looking over at the screen, you kill them?
I just all chat, type D for dance. It's always what I do. I've been thwarted by the people that run Ignite on D. Those people I don't want to talk about, but Everyone has their own strategy to win a solo queue.
Well,
nothing's happened in this game.
Nothing at all. Except Arrow coming out with a pretty nice CS lead in the top side.
Probably not unexpected, of course. Sivir versus Vayne has so many more options. Can push, can control the wave, can hold it.
Lyra's coming over here right now to contest, actually, this red buff. Looks like Nagne wants to collapse a little bit. Vicky actually trying to zone him out. Nagne going to get stunned right here, and very, very close. Nagne has to back off as Lyra starts to walk up towards the river, but Nagne actually fooled Mickey. We didn't see the first part of that trade, but when the death break came in, he just rift walked right on top of him instead of going to help his jungler right there. So Mickey overcommitting and being the victim of a little bit of a mind game.
Did you notice how much minion damage he was taking? It was a good 200 damage just from minions to really equalize that trade towards Nagne. It's a smart play, as you mentioned, bluffing aggression just to stop any hope of collapsing with the jungle and buys Rengar a bit of time. Rengar's down bottom lane.
Here we go. And there's the root on the ultimate. That'll be first blood, and it's given over to Someday. Well, the first ult worked this time around.
And look, we see Twisted Fate games where we kind of levy the same problems with him as a champion. So look, if you get all those throw the hunts off, maybe the snowball can happen this game, but they almost achieved but could not quite finish out last game.
But Papa Smithy, the difference with Twisted Fate is that he has a global ultimate, and also that he has a Zhonya's Hourglass to avoid that. Oh, and also his root, his stun, is not a skill shot, it is targeted. So there's a lot different, I feel, with the Twisted Fate.
I take a lot of issue with you trying to explain to me that Twisted Fate and Rengar have different kits, good sir.
I'm just saying it's a big difference in story as Songyun gets just
Flash Bolt. Songyun can do nothing whatsoever. Doesn't even have level 6, although flashes and heals. Fleet of Foot, though, doing a lot of work. Just the heal coming through from Fixer. Tanks up the turret. He almost made a really crafty escape, but it's second kill of the game to KT.
Yeah, they certainly look to have tightened things up here. We'll see if they can actually pull it out. Clearly, they had a very strong early game in the last one that they failed to close on, so no promises yet. Nagne gets flayed, and the death sentence. There's the ultimate. Flash, does he have enough for the Rift Walk? Yes, he does, over the wall, just barely.
Yeah, didn't have the catalyst, but of course just had the Ruby Crystal, which was literally all that was stopping him from his death. So good play there. Sivir takes the turret. The Vayne lane certainly not going as planned for Songyun.
Yeah, that's... I mean, they tried to lane swap. It was called by Arrow.
Honestly, Snowflower left lane. Like they understood that this was only going to go one way, so they tried to make a play around mid. At least they got a bit of pressure for the victor, but in terms of laning, it's going to be a while till Vayne has the Blade of the Ruined King and really threaten the all-in onto Sivir.
And there we go. At least Anarchy will steal away a blue buff right there. A minor win for them. Mickey already has his blue. So that'll be KT a little bit delayed right there. Nagne not going to have that same ability to wave clear, really. Now, who's going to go for this dragon first right now? They do see Vayne in the top side. This should, in theory, be a pretty free dragon for KT Rolster.
Through the hunt available again. Warrior enchant completed, so is ahead in terms of jungle items.
Oh boy, is this the ultra-fast gank squad coming through right
On
here?
the thrill of the hunt is activated.
Oh boy, Lyra sees it. And he's going to get pulverized out. However, the Condemn will knock Fixer out of the way, so no kill reaped out of that situation.
I also misspoke. Arrow only now getting Throw the Hunt available. So on the Throw the Hunt did not happen.
What a great combo.
That sounds pretty nifty.
For diving with an invincible Alistar thanks to his ultimate. I mean, in that way, the turret dive is actually amazing from this composition. No taking that away from them.
Yeah, I mean, if Alistar can just tank forever, Warrior enchant, Rengar still does a lot of damage. There's a reason that one of the standbys of Korean solo queue is the top Rengar. Probably a little bit less damage from the jungle, but...
I see you've discovered that already.
Yeah, there's a lot of it. If it's not Riven, it's Rengar.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for you in advance. You haven't actually seen that many teleport Smite Master Yis,
No,
though.
I haven't seen one. I've seen plenty of Yi. I got carried by Yi, so... I mean, Faker's made it happen, so I'm sure the Yi bans and the Yi mid is happening in droves.
Well, yeah, it's just always been, for years, that common jungle pick in the Korean server. Snowflower still really wants to get Mickey rolling.
Well, Vayne's freezing and getting solo experience, so at least picking up quite a lot of experience in the top lane. So I like the way they've maneuvered their lanes. Doesn't need to be uncountable.
KT has to punish this freeze, though. You can't just let this go unanswered right now.
They
You must.
Not interested in the dragon.
I mean, if they let Anarchy have a freeze and a dragon, I don't know what to say. This is a very poor map play. They know it's going down. Everyone is already there. Here we go, TP. All right, so they actually are going to react to this in the end. Now, what can they get for an equalizer across the choke? Lyra on the lantern, but the damage just a little bit too much from Someday. And now the dragon finished off by Someday himself. Very awkward positioning on the map, though. You had plenty of time. KT should have collapsed on that dragon immediately.
It's a small amount of punishment given the situation. It's why we don't see a lot of freezing of lanes, especially after turret is down, is there's so much counterplay. It's Sivir versus Vayne. Okay, not in a 1v1 sense, but Sivir has the movement speed, is able to train down turrets, make plays across the map, make the Vayne accountable. Because if she just shows up with a Blade of the Ruined King in Sivir's lane, there's plenty of possibilities. Speaking of making people accountable, Ixu's caught, gets away, and this time there's no bowler, although with the throw of the hunt, on the throw of the hunt, combo comes out, misses the bowler strike though. Need to hit those skill shots if you're going to pick the Rengar.
Yeah, you have to be so perfect on this Rengar to really justify its pickup, and the chase right there not ending fruitfully, but they do get the tower. So the objective is at least controlled, but they used a lot of summoners not to get a kill there. And remember, Ixu didn't have to burn any of his. Ixu also with TP advantage now because Someday had to use his to contest the dragon.
A teleport, ignite, a phage, and home guard boots. He's certainly skirmish ready if he chooses to come in across the map. There's not actually a lot of vision down for Anarchy. This has usually been one of their strong points, but early vision seems to be in the advantage of KT.
And there we go, tower for tower. So all that was accomplished by that from KT Rolster was a lot of summoner spell burned and an Ixu escape.
And a lot of time for Sungyun to not quite bring up the CS disadvantage, but probably enough time to farm the Blade of the Ruined King. We're waiting to see what he purchases as he gets back. Blade is finished, boots to go with it. Infinity Edge, there's always the chance that you get a couple of crits and able to take down the very low base stats of Vayne, but if Vayne's paid optimally, most of the time can happily duel a Sivir.
Yeah, you said it though, the vision just not what it usually is for Anarchy this time around. I think they've been a little bit frazzled by the fast pace that KT has been playing at. Trying to move into the river right now, starting to get some of these wards down, but they have to be very careful. Nagne approaching level 11 on this Kassadin. See what he goes for as his second item. Probably just going to be an Abyssal Scepter, but...
About a 14-minute Rod of Ages, so we're talking about a 24-minute 10-stack Rod of Ages power spike to consider. Around that time, Rumble and Civ will basically be at full power, and the Rengar will only start to fall away after the next item. You have to assume it's probably going to be tankiness, maybe Black Cleaver. Is that where you go with the build at this point? You do have the physical damage of Arrow. That's going to mean if you shred the armor, the Ricochet is going to be doing a lot of damage, but it's a very expensive item to build from the jungle.
Yeah, I really don't think you can go that right there. Score actually using his ult, throwing out a Bola, just airballing it. Not really a lot of potential. They're going to try and dive this anyway, actually. There's a TP coming in from Ixu, so they're going to defend. Snowflower actually lives through that, but can they defend the turret? Still poke, hitting Anarchy's front line right there. Lear's going to come in. He has his ultimate to disengage this if he needs to.
Yeah, 4 melee champions and a Sivir. Sivir does good turret damage, but the wave clear is pretty strong from Anarchy. Waiting to see the next round of death. With the blue buff, you'd have to think they're going to be just fine, so a lot expended for nothing.
Wow, that was so much invested from KT. Now, they did prep the side waves pretty well before that happened, so they deny some CS. They can probably take away this red buff at the same time as they start to creep forward with a few wards into the enemy jungle, and maybe they can transition onto a tier 2 as they keep on poking in the mid lane.
Some of the good KT strategies starting to sneak and rear its end in this game. They're going to take the outer turret in the mid. They've already taken the red buff. They had excellent waves in both top and bot. Okay, bit gimmicky with the team comp, but the execution, very good, despite the fact that the actual pick couldn't happen under the mid turret.
Yeah, that is true. It was still a little bit of shaky play, I think, in the early game, especially around that dragon. We'll see if they can pick the next one up in a little bit more of a clean fashion. And Ixu starting to work on that Trinity Force. He's very far away from it, though. Someday Doesn't quite have that Haunting Guys yet. He will after he goes back right here. We'll see if he has enough for the needlessly large rod as well. He will.
Wow.
Yeah, he hadn't been back in quite some time.
I didn't appreciate the fact 10 CS ahead also has 2 out of the team's 3 kills. So this is going to be the rarely seen, especially tonight, carry Rumble build. The backline threat onto Vayne. Vayne cannot afford to sit in an overhitted Flame Spitter.
No, not at all. So now the push out begins. Wards already in place for KT. Fixer starting to move to defend his pink wards right there. Anarchy doing a good job of countering. Actually, both those wards cleared out by nice pinks from Anarchy. Or, ooh, that one's quite just a little bit outside range, looks like.
Surprised to see that Victor is going the Abyssal Scepter second in a team comp where he is basically the sole wave clear. Of course, Gragas might be maxing the barrel first. I didn't actually see, but the barrel roll can provide some backup wave clear. Morellonomicon, even before a Hex Core upgrade, has been some of the rushes that we've seen in other games, so surprised to see him just go purely for the magic penetration.
Yeah, especially with that Vayne on the team as well. There's not a lot of other options for Anarchy at this point unless they want to get into melee range with that Hecarim.
This has been the person who has benefited the most from the early game. They've given so much space for Sungyun. This is definitely a game where they're looking to Sungyun to carry, and given how the lane started, 30 CS behind still is not ideal, but they've tried to engineer safe places for Sungyun to pick up both experience and farm.
Now, can they get a pick right here? They have been trying to hide in a brush with this Rengar to see if they can pick someone up before Anarchy actually approaches this dragon. They're trying to be
completed on Rumble.
Ooh, that's big. They're trying to be a little bit sneaky right here. Score with all of his Fury stacked up already.
Early teleport, Marin, also very Marin-esque, and just being in the position, of course, the threat of the backline without home guard boots. And on Rumble in general, it's more about positioning rather than necessarily rushing the backline a la Hecarim. So no teleport for Ixu, so can't go for any split pushes of his own. And the dragon is live.
It is indeed. So will KT actually look to try and create a pick? There's the ultimate used by Rengar. He's going to jump onto Mickey immediately. And there's the Requiem, or the Equalizer, rather. And Mickey just gets destroyed instantly. Double kill for Someday. Ixu going to shut him down, however. And Nagne still not really a part of this fight right now. Starting to wrap around. Wants the kill onto Lyra. Going to find it. Lyra body slamming through. And there will be eventually Rift Walk for the Kassadin, and that'll finish it off.
Yeah, important pick onto Mickey. It ended up being a masterstroke for KT. They were comfortable with going for the Sivir Kassadin. That almost was more than they probably expected. I think they committed to Kassadin as the counter pick to Victor. Of course, Victor much better when he doesn't have to deal with the Rift Walk or anyone engaging straight on top of him. There's a reason that Assassins was Sin as one of the best ways to deal with him, both in lane and in game. We're going to see the replay finally make a big play with the throw of the hand. The Equalizer with all the extra AP burns Mickey down. Nothing he can do. From there, you can just see that Sungyun's just completely chased out the fight. First, Arrow is damaging him, and then Nagne, of course, Flash Rift walks into the backline, so we don't need to see. We can fill in the blanks on what's happening with the Kassadin. At this point, Arrow's alive. All the threats are gone for Anarchy, so it's just clean up from here.
Yeah, very easy, and then nice positioning from Nagne, too, taking the long way around, but just cutting off Lyra's possible escape route so he can finish off the kill. And that'll be another dragon for KT Rolster. 7-1 on the scoreboard for them so far.
And it's basically a God mode early game Rumble. You could not ask for more items at 21 minutes. Double magic penetration and the Zhonya's, both a backline threat and just the Equalizer potentially running through a team. The flexibility of a build like this is purely the onus is on getting ahead in the early game. You don't see it a lot with the Rumbles today. They've been basically fighting with scraps, but while we talk so much about Rumble having a low item floor, it doesn't mean that if you throw in as cheeky Zhonya's, he's not going to be that much stronger.
Well, it's also the lack of range. If you want to maximize your damage as Victor, you have to get in Q auto range. And Vayne with that short range also, which means that the Zhonya's is going to be particularly effective against the carries of Anarchy by cutting their damage dramatically, because you could create a massive zone with Flame Spitter Zhonya's where simply the other team can't go unless they want to take a tremendous amount of damage onto their carries. You're also being bolstered by the fact that the Abyssal Scepter is complete for Nagne, so it's doing double duty to help Rumble get that damage in.
Everything is set up for a massive Equalizer in the next fight, and Rumble in general to boss around the short to mid-range threats, Victor and Vayne. I think it's well summarized there. So that just means that Anarchy don't have a lot of options. They were in a similar spot last game, and KT took the foot off the pedal in one of the most emphatic ways that I've ever seen. So it's a lot to hope for. It's not in Anarchy's control. You never want to be waiting for the enemy to make a mistake, but
here we go.
Score. That way. He's ulted.
Ulting again. He wants Mickey. He's going to draw the flash out at the very least, and now they're going to push forward under the turret. How far do they want to dive? Ixu gets the flank, and that'll cause KT to disengage.
But Ixu just getting, basically taking AoE magic damage, not even targeted at him, is at half health. So a lot of damage threats to respect. They have very good turret damage. Ixu's going to teleport back. He probably has Home Guard boots available and Trinity Force, so maybe going to look for a fight. No, just rushing back to lane. Doesn't want to commit to the teleport. Ignite's going to be up soon. Anarchy have good wave clear, but as noted, don't have cooldown reduction, so it's gated by cooldowns.
Well, and the equalizer's still available. They're going to try and move forward on this arrow, taking a bit of a turret shot right there, actually. Going to be a pretty low after that, so no tier 2 for KT. They don't feel like pressing forward, despite having that equalizer available just to knock him off the tower. I think you just drop that right there and see if you could chunk him out.
Maybe just a momentary lapse. Let's not get too many war flashbacks from last game.
Well, he certainly has the damage right now is the thing, and when you have that amount of poke damage against the Anarchy composition and you've already eliminated a few of them from the defense, you can certainly afford to place an equalizer aggressively. It's on a relatively short cooldown anyway.
And everyone on Anarchy is a squishy. Make no mistake, Trinity Force, Merc Treads, Hecarim will die very quickly to both the equalizer and any semblance of damage coming through. From just the Rumble we're speaking about, there's not much health built, there's no resist built, barring a couple of cheeky no magic mantles. Someday is in a huge point of power. It's not necessarily he's going to be outscaled, but KT should do something with this advantage.
Absolutely. I think you just power up your siege right there and continue to snowball. Yeah, you've got a 6,000 gold lead, and that's wonderful, but KT lost out by not actually pressing hard enough in the last game, which is unusual for them as a team.
Arrow just popped an Elixir of Wrath. He's doing so much damage with the Youmuu's Ghostblade. If one person has built for the mid-game, it is certainly Arrow.
Yeah, definitely has. Tired of not doing damage, this time just getting consumables to deal even more.
Well, it gives him the lifesteal that, of course, he hasn't been able to itemize in because he's gone very much for the duelist.
Here we go again.
Thrill of the Hunt once again, but not on the Thrill of the Hunt. No Sivir ultimate pop just yet. Siege is not necessarily their friend with only a 500 range Sivir, and they have to back away.
Well, what they have to do is actually really commit to using these ultimates to chunk them down. Now, Arrow is slowly winning the battle against Ixu in the top side, but he's not going to be able to do so alone.
Of course, it has used a consumable that's 400 gold of what will eventually be, no doubt, a Bloodthirster that's committed to fighting in the next 3 minutes. If they do get a team fight in, of course, the amount of buff duration will extend on kills and assists. So I think not enough players pick up this Elixir of Wrath when they're in a position to, and they've been kind of out-rotated, so they're at least going to lose their turret.
Mickey gets the headbutt. Arrow's there on the side. Big boomerang blade, but he'll get taken out of harm's way with the lantern. Can they commit? Missed Bola. Big equalizer, and that's going to be it someday. And Arrow tag teaming for a kill into the back line. That long-range engage doing them favors. They want to get this next dragon.
And that's the threatening equalizer with the AP behind it that burned down Mickey and zoned the rest of the fight. So now they're actually looking more towards the turrets. They're definitely prioritizing turrets that will be very hard to siege in a traditional sense of their comp. Of course, once 5v3, turret will die instantly. Even Rengar doing massive turret damage. And they're going to try and take 2.
Yeah, can they keep pushing forward? I think you just go back and take the dragon here.
It's the third dragon. It's a very crucial one. It gives you a 38-minute 5th dragon if that is a necessary win condition, and wasn't even enough for them last game.
Or
you go in again.
Yeah. Ghostblade used. There comes Score from the side. He's got the root onto Lyra. Big explosive cast. Lyra still gets knocked around and into harm's way. Songyun takes a bunch of damage, but again, Snowflower with the lantern. Turnaround now with the onslaught of Shadow. Someday still firing harpoons. They've got control of the brush. Someday. So
much Rumble damage. Doesn't get both kill credits, but certainly did the lion's share of the damage. 3 more kills to pad the stats. 12-1, 2 turrets to 0. 9k gold lead. We've seen crazier things, but finally KT doing well as Someday just completes the recall. He takes the damage, actually. I believe
Yeah,
he took
he did. That was weird.
That was really weird.
So actually what happened there was he took the secondary damage from the Victor because he was standing there, I think was what it was. That must have been it, right?
Yep. Uh-oh.
Strange.
Score has to flash away from Victor. So Victor doing damage and forcing summoner spells as best as he can, does Mickey.
So that's very weird. If you're recalling on the space where the death laser hits after you've recalled and the second damage from the upgraded Hextor
would have hit you,
you take the damage in Fountain. Neat.
We're learning new words today. We're learning new interactions. I believe we had some excellent chats about lore.
That is so weird how that is coded.
It's probably coded as minions.
Yeah.
It's a couple of Teemos just doing a bit of extra auto attack damage.
Very funny.
Look, Someday is 7-1-1, 41 CS up on his opponent. That is a disgusting amount of damage.
Well, you know, already at the 3 core items as well. That's going to be extremely helpful for him. And
I'm pretty disappointed. Where is the death cap? That's the Marin specials when he's like, he just throws a death cap into the build.
I think Death Cap's actually better than Leandri's here because Ixu just doesn't have that much HP yet.
And I think with the interaction, I was actually reading on Twitter that I believe you cannot buy an Abyssal Scepter and have it affect lane minions, so Death Cap actually gives you some side pushing options as well, just with the sheer amount of AP adding up to that Flame Spitter damage. KT can dive, KT can split push. Hecarim's trying to feign aggression but has no teleport, so doesn't need to be concerned about that at all.
Yep, and here we go. KT now starting to auto this turret. Even Nagne getting in on the action in the front line, and this should just be a cakewalk for KT. Now, we said that last game,
oh boy,
too.
these are big words.
Here we go. Here is
on the Thrill of the Hunt pop, they're seeing Sunfire Force first. It's a huge equalizer, but it's only a zoning one. Splits the team, but Nagne has flash available. Victor's dead. No semblance of wave clear left, so it's going to be, at minimum, an inhibitor.
Yeah, now they power through the turret. Inhibitor going to be the focus. Not really a way that Anarchy can defend against this whatsoever. That Vayne gets close. That will be a very crispy Vayne if Someday has his way. Now they've already prepped the wave in the mid lane as well.
Don't die on me, Monty.
It's been a long week.
It's been a long night, too. So they prepped the wave, but unfortunately it's just a single minion, so they have to back away. Gets hooked here to Someday, but doesn't have equalizer. Still don't know if you want to do this equal. Yeah, it's still riding on to the Alistair. He's tanking it up, so Nane in the backline takes down Sungyun. Mickey hasn't even got back to the fight yet, doesn't have home guard boots. It's going to be at minimum this inhibitor, and I think this time we're talking about a decisive lead for KT.
Yeah, 16-1 in terms of kills already, 4-0 and 8 for Nagne's Kassadin, looking much, much better than they did the last game. Pretty much crushing all of the lanes this time around, everyone with 3 to 4 deaths on Anarchy.
And I can tell you one thing, Monte Cristo. Arrow this game does damage.
He definitely does. We don't have any questions about that any longer. Not quite into Bloodthirster range yet. Now, how much do they want this Baron to close things out? And, you know, to Score's credit, he actually has done a lot of work this game as well, but the question is, could he have done it on a different jungler instead? I would say that his Evelynn is definitely capable of producing the same kind of results.
I would say that the unique thing that Rengar has provided them is when we saw the engage onto the Gragas that was over the Raptor wall. That's the sort of engage that you can't do without the Thrill of the Hunt. So I feel like he's gotten some unique angles. He's gotten picks that weren't possible last game when the Gragas and the kite back comp they had for Kalista actually proved quite effective. Very hard to kite Rengar when he pops that ultimate, especially when we're talking about adding on the movement speed of the Thrill of the Hunt, so on the hunt, sorry. So I agree, there's definitely could have engineered a similar result, but he's at least playing the Rengar much better than the last time we saw it this season.
That's true. I guess my other issue too is that the Thresh has denied so many possible Rengar ults already. So if you're going to leave the Thresh up, the Rengar does seem a bit ineffectual. Well, here we go. It's going to be the siege onto inhibitor number 3. No Baron takeaway yet for KT. Ixu looking for some damage in the front line, but that's not where you want to be.
He found plenty of damage. Unfortunately, it was from the Sivir. Someday's level 16, so this equalizer will completely obliterate anyone on Anarchy's side. They want to layer it down, but don't really feel forced to, and that's a third inhibitor, and surely the game.
Yeah, surely this will be KT turning on to Baron. Nope, actually Ixu just going to go in. There's a death ray.
Oh, the equalizer massive into the back line. Thresh roasted. Lyra's still alive, but going to fall soon. Ixu comes back into the fight because he realized this game is completely over, and at long last 20-1. Those were probably the odds of Good old Anarchy winning the previous game, but they managed to do it, but they certainly won't win this one.
They won't indeed, and KT comes again. They always deliver these very high kill wins. They're very good at playing around that Sivir. And after a bit of a scare in the last one, there really wasn't any hope for Anarchy in that last game, taking a pretty big deficit right from the beginning, and KT runs away with it.
KT answers some questions, unfortunately poses more, especially with their game 2. They play well with Sivir. This part is established, but if that pick is off the table or if they just opt away from it, we still have to really, we have to remain to be convinced. We need to be skeptical because they haven't shown much new this series.
No, they certainly haven't. And that vulnerability to the Sivir ban, you wonder why some of these other teams aren't taking it away from them, because they just put such an incredible priority on it. And the difference between their Sivir